Hi, well, I know this video on the lighting kit that you can have for £100 has been eagerly anticipated. I've been bragging about it for a little while, and several friends that I've mentioned to just biting my hand off really to find out about this. So here we are. Everything finally has come through. As you'll find out, as you know, I'm ordering this stuff from Amazon. It's not me packaging it up myself, not at this stage anyway. I think it's too much trouble. I'd rather just give you the links and let you go off and buy them. That also means that if you're outside the UK, you can also do the same thing, and I can send you links through to Amazon.com. So here we are. What have we got really that makes this up? Now this isn't a big lighting mains jobby that you got to plug in and set up every time you want to go out. This is very portable. It consists of a light stand here, a very reasonably priced one, the triggers that are the most important part, or maybe the flash gun is, and some umbrellas and the bracket to hold it all together. So I just want to run through this today. The idea is, partly unpacking. None of this is opened yet. In fact, I might need a pair of scissors in a minute. But none of this is open. This is partly an unpacking video to show you how this comes through. All the links are at the bottom of this video. And then really a basic overview of how to put this together. There will be subsequent videos that I put together that will be showing you how to take photos of the children, how to do different portrait shots in your living room, in your home. I did some lovely baby ones recently, and I used this setup. So they will go on into subsequent videos. This one really is about, these are the products, this is how to set it up, and we'll take it from there. So let me get straight in. The first thing we're going to open up is this light. What make is it? Yongnuo. Here it comes with a classic instruction manual in every other language. There's about 2 pages in there that's got relevant information on, but everything you need. You'll see this is actually very easy. Nicely packaged in. And it comes in its own little bag. And the other thing in here is the little stand that you'll see in a minute. Now we'll totally open this up. So there's our flash. It works just the same as a Canon or Nikon version. You can swivel this head around to different positions. You can position it up, bouncing it off the ceiling. It's got the extra diffuser plate in there, plus this little reflector that if you are using it on the top of the camera is quite useful just to point down, but we're not doing that. Batteries go in the side of here. I'll just grab some batteries in a moment. And then the display is all on the back of here. So let's get some batteries and we'll have a look at how this works. Okay, so I found myself some batteries. I use rechargeables just because as a professional, every time I go out on a job, I can get through a set of batteries. So I would come back at the end of a day, charge them up, ready for the next shoot. But that's entirely up to you. AA batteries, 4 of them. In they go. Right, so as I put the batteries in, nothing changes. I click the on-off button down here and hold that until it beeps at me. And that's now come on. Got a great little display on here, everything you need to see. What I'll do actually is to do a more close-up shot of the back of this in another video, specifically looking at this. But for now, the power settings on this, I can go from full power on here, and just it's very simple. We're just up and down in buttons here, so I can go from full power, half power, quarter power, eighth, 16, 32, 64, 128. Very flexible. I've used a lot of manual lights in the past, and you've really just got full power, half power, quarter power, maybe even an eighth. So to be able to have this flexibility is really good. The other function you do on here is the zoom. So I can adjust the angle of the beam. So when I set this out to 24mm as a wide flash, it's coming out very wide. If I want to narrow that beam in and send it further, then I can adjust this. but typically you're going to leave this on its widest setting at 24. And the mode, we're just going to leave that in M for manual. That's all we're doing in this. There is a little beep on here. I would turn it off, a little symbol with a musical note, just saying that every time something happens and a button is pressed, it's just beeping, but we don't want that. Okay, so the light's set up. Now, one option with the light is just to place it onto this foot that it comes with, and that can sit like that. And actually it can be quite handy. I've used this before when I've been, what it used to be when I worked in schools a lot of the time, I'd just literally drop these on the desks around me and bouncing off the ceiling. They were fine, just as well as standing on a light stand. I've also done it when I've been in situations and I need to get lights up in a corner, and I might stand it on the top of a door frame with one of these. But it's not a bad bit of kit to keep in the bag. Don't just throw that away and think you'll never use it. You may well do. Thinking again, maybe at Christmas time you want to get photos of the family all sitting around. You don't want the light stand. Maybe just popping that on the mantelpiece is as much as you need do. Okay, so that's the light and the bag. I'm going to put the bag out of the way for a minute, and let's see what we've got next. Which is my easiest end to get into this. Okay, so this is our light stand. Now, I have deliberately chosen one of the cheapest ones I could find. We're not going professional or top quality here, but for home use, I'll stop the noise. For home use, this should be all you need. And much like a tripod, it's a little stiff first time out. This is just going to stand up like this. And this is making our light stand. Let's see if I can get that small enough to stay on our tabletop here. Okay, so this is our light stand. It's actually, I'm happy with that. That's pretty sturdy. Let's just see how high we can get this. I'm keeping my hand on the top. It's gone out of view there, but you can gauge by, that's taller than me there. That's a good 2 meters. Now, bearing in mind on the top of this, we're going to put our light as well. That's going to increase that height even more. So we're taking this cap off the top, and there's a screw thread on the top of there. And what will happen is the next bit of kit we need, interesting actually, you do get a very small bag there that would be fine just for carrying this around or for storing it in. It may be worth looking at, I'm trying to put together a package here for as cheap as possible. There's lots of other options that we could have done. And one thing I will put a link to is a nice bag that all this could go into with the light installed and set up, so you don't have to keep taking things on and off. This is our next bit of kit. Now the idea is that this bracket will clamp onto here. I hope we're not going out of view. Tell you what, let me bring this down and have it at the side of me. So here it is. So this bracket fits onto there nicely. And what we're doing is we've recreated the hot shoe in effect that is the same slot on the top of your camera. And now we could either put this straight onto here. Okay, and you can see how this is working. That now I've got this attached, I can straighten it up, and my light now is working freestanding. But what we don't have at the minute is any mechanism for sending a signal from my camera to the light. So this is where these come in. More noise. Now in this kit, you're getting 1 transmitter and 2 receivers. And quite deliberately, the price wasn't a lot different to go for 1 and 1. And actually, I think it won't be out of the question to think that you might want a second light when you see how well this works and how cost effective it can be. Okay, so these are my receivers. This is my transmitter. They are different, and you'll see that this one doesn't have a hot shoe on the top. There's nothing for the camera to fit onto on here. And straight away, batteries are installed. And that is just going to sit straight on the top of my camera there. Okay, so that's all that. There's nothing big and ugly. Some of these Pocket Wizards are quite big units that sit on the top. That one actually I'm very impressed with. So now let's see what we do this end. So this will go straight onto our light stand. I do recommend just using a coin or something and tightening that up. And then this fits straight on the top of this one. Now before I put that on, let me just have a look. There's just a simple on-off switch on the top. And the other thing, I've got 4 channels on there. So I can put 4 channels on the bottom of my transmitter. And I've got 4 on here. So I can give different options on that. So if I find it's interfering with anything, I can just flick that around and change it for another setting. Now I've just realised I've put this on here and I need some AAA batteries. 2 AAA batteries to go in here before this is going to do anything for me. So bear with me a moment. Okay, so I finally found some batteries. I was struggling there to find some AAAs. So that's a good tip for you, is make sure you've got some batteries ready. You're going to need 4 AA batteries and 2 AAA batteries. Now these ones in particular will last you for easily 12 months. They're not doing a lot of work, but so don't need to worry about recharging these. But I do recommend, if you're going to use this a lot, then get some rechargeable batteries for your lights. Don't worry about starting out with that. Let's just get yourself up and running first. Now I know this is working because I'm getting a little red dot. There's a red dot that appears on the top of my trigger that tells me it's working. And then when that sends a signal to this, there's a red dot received this end. Now, I don't imagine you can pick that up on the video, but trust me, it's there. Okay, so now we're just going to connect this back together. So the signal is being wirelessly transmitted from this receiver to this transmitter to this receiver, and it works in the same way that hot shoe does on the top of your camera. That the little dial on here clicks into there, and as long as it's in place and you screw that down nice and tight so it's not going to move around, then the signal I'm sending from here will come through to my light. Now it's just gone into a standby moment, but there we go. Okay, so that's coming through. Simple as that. Very cheap and efficient little lighting kit. Now I put that back on here. You might be tempted to think, well, there's a screw on the top of this light stand. There's a thread on here. Why don't I put that on? Let me show you. If we were to put that straight on top of the light stand, you get no flexibility to be able to move this around. The movement here is coming from this little unit. And actually what I can do when I tighten this up, it means then that I can adjust this as well. I've got a whole pivoting head. Now one more thing before I show you how this works. Actually, bear with me. Let me just show you this first. So this is how I might well use this. I don't want to go into too much detail now because I will cover this in another video that will be specifically about how to use this in different scenarios. But if we were thinking you wanted to take some photos of the kids just sitting in your front room, Christmas is coming up and maybe you think, it'd be nice just to see the kids opening presents. Well, instead of what maybe you would typically have done before of having your light on your camera straight at them, very hard shadows it's putting on their face, you're now set up on here. You don't need to put this on your camera. You're going to just put this in the room somewhere behind you rather than the other side of you. And you can just point this either at a wall, if you've got a plain wall, white, magnolia, something like this. When I take my photo and I press the signal sends from here to here, all of a sudden this very small light source is now hitting on this wall And if we really measured it, it's probably this sort of size that is now making it in a great big softbox. So if you've ever seen these studio shots where they've got big umbrellas and softboxes, you've pretty much just recreated that by turning this head around, pointing it at a big plain wall and sending that light straight back. The alternative is you can point it up to the ceiling. And what you can't do with this light stand is it won't let me, it's got a groove down it, so it means I can't move that around. So my only flexibility for moving the angle of this head is based on this screw here. Now, so I could point this at the light, so I could have my camera here and be shooting away, and I don't need to worry about positions. If I've got a light on the top of here, I've got to be thinking, right, okay, landscape shots pointing that way. Take a portrait shot, I've now got to flip that around so it's pointing back up. I don't have to worry about that. I'm totally flexible. And when I take my shot, I'll put this on manual so that it's going to let me take some. That's going to go every time. Doesn't matter what angle I'm at. Doesn't matter if I'm down here a bit lower, whether I'm landscape, portrait. That's just going to stay consistent. And as long as it's this end of the room with me, pointing up, just play with it. You'll see that. And again, we'll cover that in a video. So that's bouncing the light. One last thing then in this kit, and I don't know whether it was a one-off or a fluke that this came, but I've got two umbrellas in here and I didn't realise it was a double kit. So we'll make sure we link to that one and hopefully you'll get exactly the same thing come through. Now this just very simply goes up like a conventional umbrella, clicks in place, got a nice little hook in there and let that come down again. Now this is very cheap and yet there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you know, rather than paying out for an expensive one, I always go for these, and maybe 6 months to a year I'll replace it because they tend to get dirty and tatty anyway. So rather than keeping hold of a precious one that I think's cost me a lot of money, I buy cheap ones and I throw them away and I replace them. Okay, so now this, I put the umbrella up. There's a small hole in the front of this middle section and I unscrew a thread so that I can poke that branch in and there it goes. And I tighten that back up again and I've now just fixed that light. So I'm pointing this down. I don't get the flexibility. I can't adjust that anymore. So as you can see, it's not exactly pointing in the center. It's aiming about here. But that's fine. What we're doing, so this would be if you weren't able to bounce it. I ought to say my preference every time would be to bounce that light if possible. It makes a much bigger space than what this umbrella is giving me. But if I want to get in close and maybe when I'm doing some of my portrait work and I'm doing some photos of the little babies and folk, I can get this, bearing in mind that we can manually turn this right down to 128th of the power. We can really adjust this. And let me just show you here. I'm in too small a space. But you can imagine, you know, someone's taking a photo of me here. This can be as close as this to me. And that light is just going to bounce off. And you can play around with it, you know, adjust the distance it is. But again, very compact. Take the umbrella off, unscrew and pull that out. Brolly goes away. But look how compact that is. I am so impressed with this. You really don't need any bigger, better lights. I've never found yet, well, that's not true. In a home environment, I've never found yet that this has been inadequate for me. You've got everything you need here. You've got your light, you've got your receiver, this middle section here, and then your light stand. That's taking up no room at all, is it? That could comfortably go in your home. You could store that away. You're not going to get in trouble with your partner for buying all this new kit. And it's under £100. You'll see the links. Transmitter goes on the top of there. But all of that could very nicely, very easily be stored away. I recommend getting have a look, work out the distance of this, go onto Amazon and have a look at light stand bags or tripod bags. Get the distance, get a nice padded bag if you intend to take it out. These lights can be used out on site as well. That's another benefit. You can get some beautiful moody shots. You get a nice evening when the light's just dropping. You can put the umbrella up. I've done it myself with the kids and got some cracking photos when you're just lighting it unnaturally, but you can get some amazing effects. So you can take this out with you. There's no reason why I couldn't take this out to the park with me and stand this next to my model and then take some shots. So there it is. It's as simple as that. It's a super kit, and I as a professional use exactly the same thing. In fact, there's my one sitting there on a slightly different stand, a nicer stand, but a more expensive one. That was about £50-60 for the stand itself. I'll put a link to that one if you're interested. One of the reasons I like this is that because the legs go up, it is even more compact, and I can set a very wide leg on that without having to come down the other way. And the whole thing does pivot around as well, so that's a lot easier on me. But the whole point of this is to show you how cheaply really you can do it without suffering. The light source is exactly the same. It's only the stand that I've made any cheaper there. Umbrellas, you can do different things as well, and you can get bigger umbrellas. You can get actual soft boxes that would fit around this, but again, you don't need that to get you going. This is all you need, and look out for the next lot of videos if you're interested in seeing how to really take this on and take some professional looking photos with a kit like this. So thank you very much. I hope I haven't waffled on too much, but I just wanted to do it justice and totally unbox it and show you so you're not stuck wondering what to do. Thank you very much.